everybody. Welcome in on this Friday, Black Friday of the Maize and Blue Review, Michigan basketball postgame live. A bummer in the Bahamas. Big time bummer in the Bahamas for the Wolverines as they face off against Texas Tech and they get boat raced and lose the game by 16, 73-57. If you missed this one, you didn't miss a whole lot here. This is one where Michigan did not play well at the start, and they continued that through the rest of the game. And so they will take a week off now, and they'll be back in action on Saturday, and whatever they can do to clear their heads, try to get on the right side, look at things to the start of their season, these first 7 games, and take stock in where they are at. Game number 7 on the season, Michigan playing in its 3rd game in as many days at a 19-hour turnaround. No excuse for any of that. I mean, those are just the facts. But, last night Michigan was down 14 in the first half to Stanford, and then they ended up coming back and winning that game. So, this is not a trend you want to continue. So Michigan's, they're down 16 tonight in the first half to Texas Tech. And then it was a 14-point lead for the Red Raiders at the break. But actually it was worse than that. I guess is however you want to look at it, because Juwan Howard, who starting at the game against St. John's at the Madison Square Garden, where Michigan played so well, Howard joined the team in New York, but stayed in the locker room. But down in the Bahamas, you saw Juwan Howard on the bench, and then he gets ejected at the half. There was a dunk attempt where the center for Texas Tech tried to dunk it. He got the ball back, and then he was standing there kind of shuffling his feet, and then there was an inadvertent whistle, and then, they ended up looking at it, but awarding the ball to Texas Tech. And so that, however that worked out, they could have gone. They didn't have a lot of clarity on the broadcast. The broadcasters really know what was going on there. In their defense, it was kind of a weird situation. Nobody really knew what was going on, but Texas Tech gets the ball back, and then right at the end of the half, they score with the buzzer clearly went off, but they count the basket, but they're going to review it, and it was pretty clear that they were going to wave that one off, but. Juwan Howard, as the team went off, whatever he said. Now, I don't know exactly. Juwan Howard's the head coach, but he was an assistant coach on the bench, or was he just observing? What were the doctor's orders? You watch him through these 3 games. Most of the time, Phil Martelli, 99% of the time, Phil Martelli is standing up. And then once in a while, you saw Juwan Howard popping up a little bit more than you would see the average assistant popping up. But whatever, he gets a double tech and then he's thrown out. So to start, the teams already go to the locker room. Michigan is down 14, but then you start the second half off with 4 technicals, 4 free throws. And, the Red Raiders hit 3 out of 4. So before they even start the second half clock, Michigan's down 17. So however you wanted to look at it, whether they're down 14, whether they're down 17 at the half, I don't know. I mean, that could be for people that are really interested in stuff like that. But in the second half, U of M, midway, 10 minutes in, they're down 21. They get down by 23, and then it's pretty much just hovering around there. They lose by 16, 73-57. And yeah, Andre's pointing out, getting down 15, you can't spot them that many. Through 7 games, you watch a team and you see certain things, how a team has played. And, Michigan played an A+ game against UNC Asheville in game number 1. They followed it up in game number 2 against Youngstown State, and they all looked, really fabulous. And, myself, who I didn't think this was going to be an NCAA tournament team, and people are like, wow, this team, look at them sharing the ball. They look fabulous. Look at the transfers. Look at the experience that they have. Look at the versatility. And, I recognize that as well. And, I give them another A. And then the 3rd game out there against St. John's, they get another A+. Everyone looked good through the first 3 games of this Michigan season. They looked like an NCAA tournament team. They're all playing well together, almost to a man from the starters. They all looked good. And then Trey Jackson coming off the bench, Will Cheddar, the two coming off the bench, the 7-man rotation that they had through the first 3 games. It was, Michigan was a surprise team, certainly if you had been watching them. But then, they play the game last Friday against Long Beach State that wasn't televised. They get up and they have an early lead in that game. I think it was something like 14-3. They got up, and then Long Beach State goes on a tear. They're not able to guard in that game. Michigan really good on offense so far this year, not so hot on defense. When you take a look at the numbers, the scoring and defensive efficiency of this team, but then they don't look good in the Bahamas. They did not play well against Memphis. In the first half against Stanford, they didn't play well, but to their credit, they came back and won that game. And then tonight, I think, was their worst game of the year. You want to make a case that it was last Friday against Long Beach State? We could argue that one out. I didn't watch that game. I did watch this one in its entirety, and there were no bright spots for Michigan in this game. They got boat raced. They didn't play well offensively. They didn't play well defensively. Sadie Washington said at the half on the radio that the effort and energy level was unacceptable. And that's where we sit. So they need to, do whatever they can to try to capture what they had in the first 3 games. If you had a question like, hey, do you think it's time to shake up the lineup? Yeah, I do think it's why not time to shake up the lineup? And you say, well, what do you do? Well, they only play really 7 guys right now. So you're looking to Trey Jackson and you're looking to Will Cheddar. So you would put one or both of those guys in the starting lineup if you wanted to shake things up. And so I think you would go for Terrace Reed with one of those, go to a smaller lineup, and maybe TW2, Terrence Williams II, who was so played so poorly against Memphis, but then he actually played really well yesterday against Stanford. Maybe you send TW2, a captain, to the bench, but those it's a little bit like in baseball, and you talk about this, and fans do, and the media know an awful lot more than the manager. You're like, hey, how about shaking up the lineup? Yeah, once in a while you can do that, but you can only go to that a couple times during the year. It's not like every game you can sit there. And Michigan's played the same starting lineup through their first 7 games. And when you drop a few like this, it's obviously a very fair question for the coaching staff to shake it up. But the one thing that I have seen through these 7 games from Michigan, those first 3 games where they played so well together, man, they were cutting and they were hitting their shots, and it was really fun to watch. Is that almost all of the players that were out on the floor in those first 3 games played well. Like, you wouldn't point to him and say, he had a rough night. No, all of them, everybody, last night, all 5 starters were in double figures. And then they played that way in the second half, not in the first half, but they played that way in the second half. So the first 3 games, almost everyone played well. Against Memphis, almost everyone did not play well. And then tonight, no one played well. So they're getting everyone playing well or everyone playing poorly. So that's what I have seen through the first 7 games. So that's it. And Andre's saying they've got time to develop. Well, we'll look at that upcoming schedule. I did hear Olivier Kamwa, who I like his game very much, although dribbling the ball and passing the ball, all of the other things that you would go to, like shooting and rebounding and post play and mid range game. I like all leadership. I like all of that from Kamwa. Passing and dribbling, not so much from Olivier. But last night when he was talking about the game against Memphis, and he said, "What would you say about where your guys are at?" And he said, "Discipline. We need to be more disciplined." So maybe that's what the coaches were saying. Maybe that's the buzzword for this team. Maybe that's what they'll be able to work on when we're talking about down the line. And let's talk about down the line from this team as we check the upcoming schedule. And that is brought to you by the Maize and Blue Review. Check out the Good Afternoon Michigan Football and Basketball Show, which comes your way 3 times a week at 2 o'clock right here on this feed that you are watching. And in addition to this feed that you're watching, we're on after every Michigan basketball and football game. And, of course, the football game tomorrow, you might be aware of, will be on after Michigan, Ohio State tomorrow. So Andre says they've got time to develop. Michigan is heading out to Oregon. This next Saturday. And that's not going to be an easy game for the Wolverines. And then it's a Big Ten play as Michigan will welcome in IU. The Hoosiers will get it going. That will be not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday, and then another Big Ten game where they will take on Iowa. So while you say they've got time to develop, I would say, not really. I mean, they've got to be, if they want to be a tournament team, you look at these 3 games here, they can't lose all 3 of these games. I mean, can they lose 2 out of 3? That kind of thing. But look, hey, you might think that's getting you ahead of yourself a little bit if you start saying, "Oh, these are must-win games," or whatever. Tonight was a must-win game. It was a bad performance in the Bahamas. If they play like they played with one another through the first 3 games, this team will be fun to watch and they'll be able to do something. If they play like they played in the Bahamas, this team will not be in any kind of postseason scenario. So, that's the facts, not the facts. That's how I see it. Anyways, based on their performance thus far this season. I said nobody really played well. Let's take a look at the numbers and see if that backs me up at all. Terrace Reed, 4 points. TW2, 1 of 5 from downtown, ended up in double figures with 10 points. Kamwa, 7 of 10 from the field, 16. Not a bad stat line for Olivier. Doug McDaniel, 12 points, 5 of 12 shooting. You got to have more from Doug McDaniel. We all know that. And then Namari Burnett, who, is an interesting player. He's fun to watch. He lets the game come, but, 1 of 10, 0 for 4 from downtown, 2 points. That speaks for itself. Yo-Yo got in and hit a shot. Will Cheddar, might be seeing him get some more time, maybe in the starting lineup. Who knows? Like his game. He's a fan favorite. He had 5. Trey Jackson, who's instant offense, 2 of 6, 0 of 2 from downtown. He had 5. And I cannot tell a lie. GW3 did play, took a shot, and did not score. So that's it for Michigan and the tail of the tape. And they will be off until a week from tomorrow, when they will be out taking on Oregon in Oregon. That'll do it. Thanks for watching. Talk with you after the Michigan football game tomorrow. Everybody, what more can you say? I'll say it. Everyone is really excited. Been waiting, always wait for this game, and here it is. So enjoy yourself, and we'll talk with you after the game on this feed, the football game tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.